our weekly video segment to take you into the back shelves of your local video store, back where it says horror videos, and where kids are devouring some awful films that we call the video nasties.
Are you freebasing? Inquiring minds want to know.
I have to break free from this culture of mechanical reproductions and the thick incrustations dying on the surface.
Fuck the prime time, bitch!
Monmouth in the flesh.
The pain, I can assure you, will be exquisite. As for our deaths, come with me and be immortal.
We have such sights to show you.
Gotta return some videotapes.
Hello, horror hounds, and welcome to the It Slays podcast. I'm your humble host, Rowan.
And I'm your early 90s Irish folklore CD-ROM Mike.
I'm Colton.
It's Jill.
And I'm the Leprechaun.
So, we have a very special guest in the building. OG It Slays podcast member, well known to the podcast as one half of the Shade Brigade, one half of the Drunk Brigade.
Why is that all the same people?
Yeah. It
was one time.
There's really just these two problematic people that have been on this podcast. But Xylia in the building, and here celebrating a very, very special episode for us all. A franchise that opened Colton's heart to, the best franchise around. Leprechaun, we're here. Let's have a little discussion about our history with Leprechaun. So,
like the mythical creature or the franchise?
Maybe a little bit of it all. But yeah, so we reviewed Leprechaun 1 and 2. Jesus, what was that, like 2 years ago? I feel like it was like 2 years ago.
It was
I think it's
just
about 2 years ago, almost like to the date type of thing.
Yeah, and that was before Colton was like on the podcast. That was Mike drunkenly telling Colton he needs to come on to the Leprechaun episode.
Yeah,
it wasn't
because
telling, it was blackmailing.
Yeah, it was like we were reviewing The Lighthouse, and then at the end you guys mentioned that you were doing Leprechaun 1 and 2, and I was like, thank God I'm not on that episode. And then that was it. I was stuck.
Yep, he made the mistake of saying that in front of me, and then I announced in front of the whole world that he was going to be on it, so we didn't really have a choice then.
And that is our biggest episode. It's not even like in contention. Our biggest episode we have ever had. We're hitting 8,000 views on that one episode, because that's the power of the Leprechaun, the power of Warwick Davis. So let's just start. Other than this sloppy intro, I'm already drinking, so it'll be even sloppier as we go, I'm sure.
I did just text Rowan a limerick.
Oh, nice.
But it was more just to be like, do you want me to read it?
Sure.
No. You'll cut it out for sure.
Please.
Stop looking like that. I said if you keep giving me that look, you're in for a left hook.
Oh, man.
Oh, all right.
Wow.
Jeez.
If you cut that out,
Yeah, please,
you're a wimp.
Please,
Yeah, I no cutout in this.
I don't condone family violence.
Yeah.
So we'll start with what are we consuming? What are we watching? What are we reading? What are we listening to? Jill, what have you been consuming?
All right. Well, in terms of books, I finished my fairy porn series, and now I'm on to more smut. Some shit between Hades and Persephone. A book called Neon Gods. It was pretty mid, but I read that. Yesterday I read Inked in Blood, which is a newish Ice Nine Kills comic that came out. And then for watching things, I apart from The Last of Us, as always, I've been having a little Scream-a-thon, rewatching all of the Scream movies because I went to see the new one. And yeah, that's pretty much it. In other news, I went to Monster Mania Con today, and that was pretty cool. I saw Rose McGowan from afar, and the guy who plays Argyle in Stranger Things was there. That was pretty cool. What about you, Mike?
Yeah,
I'm
Mike,
sorry.
spit out the popcorn. What about
Jesus
you, Mike?
Fucking Christ. I'm sorry. What about...
Come on, spit it out.
I got it. Okay, what about me? That's a very good question. For once, I have an answer to that question. Normally, it's just like, I've been playing video games and watching Real Housewives, which I've also been doing. But I also watched Scream 6. And, spoiler alert, loved it. Kirby Forever. And I also rewatched 2 of my favorite movies of all time. So one, I got to see one of my favorite movies in 4K for the first time, which was Suspiria, the original Dario Argento. And that was wonderful. And the other one was I got to show a couple of my friends who are, film scholars, something they'd never seen before, which was the classic Cabaret. So that was fun. And I also got finally caught up, i.e. I watched all the episodes so far of The Last of Us.
Oh, nice.
Woo! Yeah,
what are you thinking?
Up. I absolutely love it. I can't wait to watch the new episode tomorrow because I have to go straight to bed after this.
Yeah.
So I'm the only one that hasn't seen it yet now. So I'm just left out of the conversations.
Yeah, usually I'm the dragon. For once, it's you.
Jill, you never mentioned what you thought of Scream 6. Did you enjoy it?
I gave it a 4.5 out of 5. I really liked it.
Colton doesn't know because he didn't make a letterbox review, so he wasn't sure.
I mean, I just put the rating. I didn't make the whole review.
Oh,
Jesus.
I missed that. I missed it.
Yeah.
Or maybe I don't follow you. I only follow cool people, so.
Anyways, I really liked it. I thought it was fucking fire.
Good. Well, Mike, you never threw it to anyone. Your mouth's full of food again. So I'll go next, I guess. I don't know. I also watched Scream 6, which obviously we covered on Now Slaying. So if you want to hear mine and Rowan's full thoughts on that, you can just check out the episode. But in short, I also very much enjoyed it, and I thought it was a significant step up from the 2022 iteration. With the Oscars coming up, it kind of prompted me to take a look back at some of the Best Picture winners I hadn't seen, with the most recent one that I hadn't seen being Shakespeare in Love, which I have a feeling. Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like our listeners don't really care to hear too much about Shakespeare in Love, so I'll simply say that it was a weaker Best Picture winner, and it helped me discover that Ralph Fiennes actually has a bunch of other siblings that I didn't know about in show business. So without this movie, I wouldn't have known that, I guess. I also checked out Creed 3. And as a big fan of the first 2 films, I'm sad to report that I found this one to be quite disappointing. I think Michael B. Jordan bit off more than he can chew with his directorial debut. And that rhymes, but...
he directed it. I didn't know that.
Yeah, he directed it as his first feature that he's directed. And, he had to juggle, multiple flashback sequences, IMAX cinematography, and, a more, personal, nuanced story for the Creed character and all the people surrounding him. So it was just, a lot to cram into 120 minutes. So the whole thing just winds up feeling incredibly rushed. He also spoke very openly about his passion for anime and how it influenced a lot of the action scenes in the film. And as someone who's not a huge fan of anime, I did find that a lot of the boxing matches wound up sort of having this corny element to them.
So you're not a fan-ame?
No, not a fan-ame. And please don't come to me if you're a stan-ame or whatever you want to call yourself. You could like what you like, but I'm not a huge fan of it. I've watched a couple things, but that's about it. Honestly, the only thing I truly enjoyed about it was Jonathan Majors, who, once again, he just proves that he has such a powerful screen presence and can act circles around whoever he shares the screen with. But I think we've all known that for some time now. Yeah. So if you've seen the other 2 films, you kind of sort of need to see this one just to kind of finish it out, but maybe wait for it to hit streaming or at least lower your expectations if you're going to go see it in theaters. Also in theaters, I saw 65, which, is that Adam Driver fighting dinosaurs movie that most of you probably never heard about. Mike is just completely what the fuck is he talking about? It more or less delivers on what you were expecting with a movie pitched as that. What I didn't expect was it kind of to take itself so seriously and try and wage this story of human survival similar to something like The Martian. And I also didn't expect for it to actually have half decent creature CGI. Honestly, I just thought it was gonna be way more dumb than what it is. I was expecting something in the vein of Cocaine Bear. And don't get me wrong, it's not like this movie is smart or anything, but it's also, it's not that dumb. So if you want to see Adam Driver basically just single-handedly wiping out the dinosaurs with laser guns and grenades and whatever else he can get his hands on, this movie's probably for you. I had fun with it, but I'm also very much a dinosaur kid at heart, so, keep that in mind. Rapid fire, I saw Cronenberg's The Dead Zone for the first time, which I thought was too silly for me, honestly. I thought it was okay. I also checked out a late release from last year called Emily, which featured an excellent score and a great performance by Emma Mackey. But other than that, was dreadfully boring. And I also sought out the Best International Feature nominee, The Quiet Girl, which was a great little Irish film about a quiet girl who finds her place in life and a family outside of her own. Similar to Mike, I'm very much looking forward to The Last of Us finale later this evening, but, I'll say more on that next time when we have the whole season in the rear view. And, that's basically all I've been watching. What about you, Rowan?
Well, I have a question for you. I mean, this is coming out, next Sunday, so technically it's the future. So how did you enjoy your Oscar experience? Was it a good Oscars? Were you happy Top Gun Maverick won all the awards it was nominated for?
I was a little disappointed because I don't think Top Gun won anything, and it also wasn't nominated for cinematography, which it should have been. But I mean, I was very happy that Everything Everywhere All at Once won Best Picture, of course. So
now when people listen to this, we can see how well it ages if neither of those win, and then I don't know.
Yeah, I'm racking my brain. I'm trying to remember what Top Gun's fully nominated for, but I don't think it's going to win anything, which it should have been nominated for cinematography, and it wasn't. So the
winner will be, the two Leslies will be the winner of everything.
Two Leslie, I think, has one nomination, and it was a sketchy one at best, not saying it's not deserved, but
I got on the Creed train. I haven't seen 3 yet, but I had never seen 1 and 2. So I checked those out. I loved both of them. I liked the first one better than I enjoyed the second one.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's not a surprise. Ryan Coogler is amazing, and yeah, that was great. I also got a chance to check out Women Talking. That is probably one of my favorite 2022 movies other than Top Gun that I watched.
I was just about to say, better than Top Gun? Or
no, it's not better than Top Gun, but I really enjoyed it. I thought the performances were great. Yeah, I've never read the book. I didn't really know anything about the book, but I thought it was pretty good. It had me choked up there a bit, so it did what it wanted to do. I also got to check out Devotion, which, speaking of Top Gun Maverick, the other jet movie that came out pretty much exactly right afterwards.
And also features Jonathan Majors.
Yeah, and it was good. I enjoyed it. It was better than I expected. I went in with zero expectations. It's one of those typical true stories that, choke you up in the end. It's about, like, the first black pilot in the Air Force. He flew in Korea, and just kind of his story about what he dealt with and, what ended up happening to him. A little bit on the horror side, I finally got to watch My Best Friend's Exorcism on Amazon, which is a very popular book that got turned into a film. And I thought it was pretty good. I also was not expecting much from this, and I thought it was fun. The music was good. It's just a callback to the 80s, very like Stranger Things meets The Exorcist, and also like a little more kind of like mean-spirited and a little more horror-ish than I thought it was gonna be. So that was fun. And then the only other ones I will mention is celebrating the Oscars. I did get a chance to check out Chris Rock's stand-up special he put out on Netflix.
I thought you were cracking a joke there, but he does go into the whole slap incident right at the end of it, right?
Yeah, and I mean, I know it's not amazingly reviewed, but as, someone that grew up with Chris Rock, I'm a huge Chris Rock fan. I enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty good. Is it his best? Not really. He's kind of just saying a lot of stuff Dave Chappelle's already been saying and all of his stand-up, just a little probably more friendlier than Dave Chappelle has. But it was worth it for the Will Smith stuff. Yeah, like Colton said, we saw Scream. Also, you'll be able to, if you're on Patreon, you'll be able to go here. We watched You Can't Kill Stephen King on Tubi, which is a comedy horror movie from 2012. And yeah, so join the Patreon to hear what I think about that. And then
Sounds like a sleigh. Sounds like a sleigh for sure.
And then just to make Colton happy, I went Drove all the way to Halifax with a friend of mine that had not seen Avatar 2 yet, and went and saw Avatar 2 again in the theater.
Nice.
And I'm happy to report it still holds up. It's still just as good. Last but not least, Xylia. I saved some stuff off my list because
I was gonna say
we watched some
just,
similar things.
Just absolutely, utterly disappointed that you didn't mention Marcel the Shell.
Yeah, well, I knew you were gonna bring it up.
It's adorable.
Yeah.
We watched that. We went to the city and saw Scream 6 at the fan event. I'm sure you talked about it on your Now Song.
Yeah, we did, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's probably all I watched for movies in the immediate.
You watched 50 movies in one day. What are you talking about?
What?
According to your Letterboxd.
The way it was logged on Letterboxd, he's cracking a joke. You logged everything in the same day, so it was just a very long day of watching.
Yeah, it looks like it says everything was watched in
That's
one day.
That's just my OCD when I'm like, I'm gonna get Letterboxd and dedicate the next fucking 10 hours to.
She doesn't know how to
I lived for it, by the way. I spent all day at your Letterboxd.
Oh, thanks.
That's why I couldn't see Jill's review. Xylia just took over my feed. So.
Whoa. Sorry. In terms of books, so I've been really on a transformative justice kick, just related to my work. So blah, I'm boring. I have a job that I read about. But basically, so I've read The Abolitionist Handbook by Patrice Kahn-Coolers. I think she started Black Lives Matter. And I've read Insurgent Love, Abolition, and Domestic Homicide, which is such light reading. That was... Sorry, that was Ardith Wynot, who is a professor, I think, at Mount Allison, but also has worked in the domestic violence field. And then the other one is Beyond Survival: Strategies and Stories from the Transformative Justice Movement. And basically, the Transformative Justice Movement is just about, for instance, I guess an analogy is looking at restorative justice rather than sending people to prison. Another book I read was this one called Debunked by this guy who I'm not gonna say I'm obsessed with him, but he's this old guy.
She's obsessed with this old guy. You heard it here first.
It's this old guy on TikTok who is a professor in the States, and I've been as I said, I have OCD, legit, and I've been very hyper fixated on this crime case. Okay, Jill, do you know Brian Koberger? Not personally, but have you heard of him?
No.
Okay.
Who is it?
Oh, this guy who's a fucking psychopath, and I don't use that word lightly, that was arrested and lived by
so you must know him.
Right by you, an hour away. And he killed 4 students at University of Idaho in their beds at night.
He's a forensic psychology PhD student, right?
He's a PhD student. So I've been really randomly obsessed with this case. I'm not really a true crime girly, but I don't know what it is. So this guy basically analyzes this stuff, but he's very rational and very analytical, which I like because I feel there's a lot of emotion and conspiracy wrapped up in that case. And he wrote a book about conspiracy theories and rationally debunking them, or some conspiracy theories do turn out to be a thing, but let's look at it rationally, people. That's what I've been consuming.
Jill will only find out about all that stuff if they write some sort of erotic smut dedicated to it.
Oh, God.
Oh, no.
Sarah J. Maas will write the adaptation.
Fuck you. Thank you. I'd
or
read
Katie
it.
Robert,
Sarah J.
even
Maas
better.
wrote it. Ugh. No, Katie Robert is
Mid.
trash. Sorry.
Mid.
Yeah, no. Do not fuck with Sarah J. Maas like that.
But I think it's that time we have to get in to the pick this evening. I feel like we already explained why we've picked it, but it is Leprechaun 3. We didn't torture Colton with a double feature. We're gonna make him wait a whole year till he gets that Leprechaun 4 in space.
Oh man, can't wait.
But I think before we get into the trailer, it's only proper if we've waited this long to get a hot Leprechaun impression from Xylia, which she's well known for in these parts. We need another one.
Buckles on me shoes.
Oh man.
I figured I had to bring the expert in.
I'm gonna make that my ringtone for when you text me.
Oh my god.
I figured I had to bring an expert in because our last episode, when I was announcing this episode, I may have been told that I just sounded Italian when I did it.
Not that I sound Irish.
Yeah, but
I have another one for you. If you're gonna linger, I'll give you the finger.
So let's get into the trailer, and we'll be back with the synopsis and first experiences.
Las Vegas, a gambler's dream, and a dreamer's paradise. They're all about to meet their worst nightmare.
Look out, Vegas. I'm taking over.
Now, the Leprechaun's back in the city that never sleeps. And he will never rest until he reclaims his pot of gold.
Belongs to me, this gold I smell. Let's go, it's going to hell. Yeah, I want me shilling. Hello? If we destroy the gold, we get rid of the leprechaun once and for all.
Leprechaun 3, the third time's the charm.
Leprechaun 3 was directed by Brian Trenchard Smith and written by David DeBose, and the story is as follows. After losing yet another one of his gold shillings, a lowly leprechaun finds himself in the City of Sin trying to turn his fortunes around. But when starry-eyed magicians' assistants, degenerate gamblers, horny mobsters, corrupt dealers, and phony magicians try to take what's his, he must open up a can of magical whoop-ass, the likes of which the world has never seen, and teach these ne'er-do-wells a lesson that they'll never forget.
Magical can of whoop-ass. That's good.
Well, you know what happens is if you steal the leprechaun shillings, the leprechaun's got to do some killings. So, yeah, this episode
You
just
stole me line.
Jesus. So yeah, we know where we're gonna start. First experiences, have you seen this before? Or, do you own this on every medium and you just hold this up in the highest of regard? You consider it one of the top 20 movies of all time. Peak cinema. This is movies. Jill, we'll start with you.
Absolutely. So I had only heard about, the wonderful franchise that is Leprechaun from you guys. I also was talking about it to some of my friends, and I just got the impression that it was going to be a giant pile of dog shit. So that's the expectation I held in my head. And I guess you'll find out what I thought about it. What about you, Xylia?
So I've seen... Okay, are you talking about the franchise or... Sorry, I get so fucking off track. In terms of franchise...
Just Leprechaun 3.
Fairly well-versed.
Yeah.
In terms of Leprechaun 3, I think this might have actually been my lucky third time seeing it.
Oh.
Yeah. I always, secretly liked Leprechaun, and Rowan knew it and would make fun of me, but... Leprechaun's a banger. Leprechaun 3's in Las Vegas. Even more of a banger.
What about you, Mike?
Well, I can safely say that watching it for this episode was my first time. I notoriously was not the hugest fan of the first two. So I was not looking forward to this. As my messages in our group chat will tell
Yeah, I was going to say.
But I watched it, and here we are, and I won't spoil it, but I will say I probably liked it better than the other ones. I gotta say.
Which is a mild spoiler, but, that's all right.
I mean, it is a mild spoiler, but what about you, Colton?
Yeah, I'm the biggest fan of the Leprechaun franchise, of course. I've seen them all dozens of times, Certainly, Yeah, no, I watched the first one and the second one only for this podcast and had, was probably never going to watch it on my own. So here I am again, watching the third one only for this podcast. And
for that actress.
Yeah, and for that actress, which, I don't know, she may or may not be part of my favorite scene. I don't know how problematic it'd be, so we'll leave that. Rowan, I assume you've seen this numerous times.
I was the one that introduced Xylia to the Leprechaun world. I was happy to do that for her. I think this might have been the first one I ever saw of the franchise. It's definitely, to me, the most memorable from when I was young. But I own, a couple years ago, they put out, a nice Blu-ray Leprechaun collection of all the Leprechaun movies. So I've got that. I own this on VHS. I've owned this on DVD. I've got it all. I've seen this tons of times. So
I'm the best at liking the Leprechaun.
Yeah, I'm the best. I'm the absolute best. No one's better at liking Leprechaun than me. So we know where we're going to start. We're going to get into the meat and potatoes of things. Our favorite scene and or favorite kill. Colton, We'll start with you.
So as I just alluded to, I'd probably get canceled if I said that my favorite scene was the lap dance scene. So it's definitely not the lap dance scene. Instead, it was probably when the Leprechaun was thrown out the hotel window because that shit was hilarious, and it reminded me of the scene in American Psycho 2 when Will Shatner fell out the window.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
Anything that brings back memories of that scene is a fond memory. So that was that was probably my favorite scene. Wasn't kill, but What about you, Jill? What's your favorite scene as a first time watcher?
Okay. So last night I do need to tell a little bit of backstory. Since I had never seen any of the Leprechaun movies, Colton told me watching 3 would be like watching Return of the King. I miss out on all the lore. And I thought he was totally shitting with me until I watched the first movie and realized that there's actually so much lore and there's so many rules. So yeah, I binge watched them. And the third movie, it really builds up on those rules. And I'm sorry, what was the question? Or favorite scene?
Scene or kill, yeah.
Okay, yeah, sorry, yeah. So it wasn't a kill for me, but it was definitely a scene. So back to the lore thing I was talking about. I like how they had that CD-ROM with that shitty little program that like told the Leprechaun lore.
Yeah.
And then this guy gets bit by a fucking leprechaun and he starts turning into one and he's like craving potatoes and shit and he orders all the potato sides to room service. That is my favorite scene. And then he only talks in limericks. Like I was amazed. I was blown away. I was laughing so hard. It was amazing. Yeah, that's it for me, the potato scene. How about you, Rowan?
This is hard. There's so many good scenes in this. I'm just gonna go for it. My favorite is Mitch's death, where he's on the bed and like the woman comes out of the TV. And then it's like this weird machine woman thing and robot.
It looks like Ex Machina.
Yeah,
it does.
But I really like that. Like I thought everything about that scene. I'll talk about it later in the review too. Like there's stuff about that scene I just think was great. But it was a fun kill. I mean, most of this is really fun. What about you, Xylia?
Okay. Just like Jill, my favorite scene is when he's in the restaurant and she's bringing out fucking like baked potatoes, fries, potato skins, all that stuff. And he's just eating potatoes in all these different forms because it's fucking hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
And then in terms of kill, my favorite kill would be when the woman, that Loretta, when she really wanted to be like sexy and young, although... Anyways, her butt and her boobs and her lips like explode through a doorway because she can't get through the doorway because her butt's so big. And that's probably my favorite kill. There really aren't that many kills to choose from. There was like 3 maybe.
What about you, Mike?
Well, of course, because we're the Shade Brigade, me and X have the same favorite kill. Of course, it would be what I call the Kardashianization of Loretta.
Oh, no.
That's perfect.
First of all, I love Caroline Williams, so any scene with Loretta, and it was, gonna be my favorite, but...
Horror icon.
Oh, we knew
right?
The second
horror icon.
We were like, I bet Mike loves this character. Any, fucking sassy, shady character is you.
And, I mean, of course, for her to get to go from having an awful wig on to, this, sexy, pixie cut, which, by the way, was actually in hindsight brilliant because it's pixie cut and
that's
Leprechaun.
Folklore, supernatural.
Right? Yeah. So anyway,
that probably went over a lot of people's heads, including the director.
Oh, 100%. They literally only cut her hair that short so they wouldn't have to fuck around with buying an actually good wig. They're like, we have no actual hairstylist on this movie, so just get your hair cut really short so you can just plop the wig on top of it.
Exactly. It's very
But yeah,
haphazard.
I absolutely loved that scene because I love her. I just thought it was like so funny and it was so camp, and she's one of the only people I think that like really was like knew it was camp and was playing it up other than Warwick Davis. So I really enjoyed that scene because she was just like chewing the fucking scenery up, and also she's just like gorgeous and wonderful. And
can I just say, like a couple of the times it sounded like she was fucking like British, and then the rest of the time it sounded like she was from like New York.
There was some wonky accent work going on there.
There was a lot of wonky accent work. Actually, numerous times throughout the movie, I was like, what accent is this person supposed to be having? I thought that she was trying to do New Jersey for some reason. But it was like kind of vague and coming and going. Yeah.
I may or may have not watched the whole 30-minute featurette on the Blu-ray for this movie. Now, I will argue with Loretta. I brought up the fact that did she actually look younger? I thought the haircut made her look older. I don't know. That was just my opinion. But
well, the thing is, they took the wig off her, and her awful, like, what I call on The Simpsons when they flicked the makeup gun over to whore. Like, that's what her makeup was for the first half of the movie. And then they, like, actually just put natural makeup on her. So I guess she was... And you know, they gave her, like, the kind of saggy tits, which you couldn't even tell because she was wearing really loose-fitting blouses at the beginning of the movie, so you couldn't even tell that she was supposed to be saggy. Because the whole time she was talking about needing plastic surgery, I'm like, you literally look 35. Like, what's the issue?
I want to talk about quickly up front, because I know Colton, his main concern this entire time was, where is Lee Armstrong? What is she doing? Is she in the Younger Men? What's going on there? So, sadly, Colton, I did confirm Lee Armstrong quit acting after this movie.
God.
This was it. It was kind of interesting. On the Blu-ray, they were talking about that she was super nice. She didn't do any interviews for this, but they said that she was like pretty uncomfortable with like the exploitation aspects of it. She wasn't thrilled about the outfits and stuff. You know, like Caroline Williams, like the rest of them kind of knew what they were signing up for, and they were like, well, you know, like this is kind of what these movies are like. Like it's just like bad effects and you know, sex and whatever.
Over-sexualized, yeah.
Yeah. But they did seem worried that maybe this was, you know, just rubbed her the wrong way. But I guess for the listeners that wouldn't know, I know me and Colton were trying to dig into it, and it seemed that she interned for Howard Stern also, like the Howard Stern show. But then I guess...
No wonder she quit acting.
On my search, Rowan, I never told you this, I found a subreddit called Mainstream BB, which stands for Mainstream Ball Busting, which is like a fetish subreddit. And that was the only hint I had of what happened to Lee Armstrong, and it was just that one clip of her kneeing the guy in the balls in the movie. And then
I like that if people could see the cameras, that the only one that didn't seem surprised at this subreddit was Jill. She just kind of nodded.
Jill's just into it, yeah.
She was like, I'm the moderator.
But then I was kind of curious about like what is actually on this subreddit. Like, what is the top post? And it was like this weird Italian movie that had like a mom squeezing her son's balls, and like it's not like porn, it's like actually from movies. And I was like, what the fuck am I looking at? So then I was like, all right, the Lee Armstrong search is off. I'm good. I can't figure out anything else. But yeah, that was the only thing that turned up when I put in like, what happened to Lee Armstrong, or like, where is Lee Armstrong? Leprechaun, like just, you know, curious. And yeah, that's all that came up, a fetish subreddit from Leprechaun 3.
That's all?
That's it. Like if you actually search it up, that was the top result. That was it. Yeah.
Give me like 4 hours.
She needs to do something so that we can get one
I figured
page
she'd be like
above
featured
that subreddit.
I figured she'd be like featured in one of these throwback like horror documentaries. Like you figured like In Search of Darkness or something would have like sought this person out just to ask, right? But yeah, I couldn't find anything.
Well, I thought it's pretty unfortunate, because I was saying, like, when we were rewatching it, like, you know, like, she's pretty good as, like, a female lead to the movie, and kind of like Leprechaun 1, where we get, like, early Jennifer Aniston. Like, I thought, like, she did have, like, some charisma, and
yeah,
I was like,
uniqueness, nerve.
Yeah, I knew you were gonna I knew you were gonna do that to me. But yeah, I'm just surprised, like, even in this kind of like B direct-to-video horror movie market, like, I would have thought that she would definitely have gotten more work. What did you guys think about like the male lead, John Gattens, who I guess now is known more as a writer than an actor, but what were your thoughts on him?
I thought they were both pieces of cardboard. I was like, I have literally thrown out greasy McDonald's bags with more charisma than the two of them. They were what dragged it down for me. If neither of them was in this movie, it would have been like a masterpiece to me. Or if they knew that it was camp and like accepted it. I don't know. Listen, maybe I'm just being harsh.
The more he turned into a leprechaun, the more endearing he was. And I don't know if that was just the limerick speaking or the accent or what. But by the end of the movie, when he had like all the makeup on, I got like a note that I was like, man, there's some good makeup on Scott, and he's pulling it off here. So I don't know. Maybe I was just delirious by that point, but I liked him by the end of the movie.
Yeah, I thought he was. I thought he was pretty good. For some reason, every time I watch this movie, he reminds me. I can't think of his name, but like the guy from People Under the Stairs, like
that has his tongue cut out.
That has his tongue cut out, like the main guy. I just think they look very similar. Now, I mean, John Gattens, like I said, probably the most successful person to come out of Leprechaun 3, got nominated for an Academy Award for, he wrote the movie Flight with Denzel Washington.
Okay.
I looked on his, letterbox there, like, he's written, like, a bunch of huge, like, bigger movies, so interesting, you know, I know in the interviews with him, he kind of talked about that after this movie, he was in some more kind of direct-to-video horror movies, and then just kind of exited out and figured writing was more for him.
Yeah, the one thing about his character that I didn't mention, I got a note that how much of a degenerate gambler he is. Like, it is insane to go in there and be like, you know what, I'm just going to blow $23,000 on the roulette table.
Right? That made me,
my God. What a guy.
Just defying, you know, going to university and saying, I might as well just throw it in the casino.
I mean, the sad thing is, like, that, like, legit happens. That was the scariest part for me, too, because I'm like, oh no, what the fuck's he gonna do?
And then when he makes
coin, of course.
And then when he makes $100,000, like I was expecting it to basically someone steal the gold coin and he goes back again and loses like all of it or something. Oh. It doesn't get quite that tragic, but yeah, it's
no, he just turns into a leprechaun instead.
Yeah.
Okay, so he was actually in one of my personal favorites that we've ever done on this show, which was Witchboard 2.
Yes.
He was?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't realize
the
it.
Guy?
No, he was like some other guy, but he was in it.
Oh, he was like not an important guy though.
I mean, I don't know. I don't really but again, I don't remember him, so he had clearly no impact.
He was also in Norbit, which I bet is like one of Rowan's favorite movies because it's just absolutely known to be like the worst thing ever.
The slander.
Thoughts on Norbit, Rowan? Thoughts on Norbit?
I don't think I've ever seen Norbit, so
okay. It's better that way.
Now, I want to know
That's why it's not his favorite yet.
All of us sitting here, we just saw Scream, you know, in 3D. How do you guys feel that this was supposed to be a 3D movie?
That'd be amazing.
And yeah, I think we were really robbed of something. When they need a re-release in the theaters.
You know that coin was gonna be like 3D, thrown at your head kind of thing.
Lots of shillelagh swinging at the camera. Yeah.
Yeah, what the fuck is that thing?
The shillelagh.
What the fuck's a shillelagh?
I only know... Okay, sadly, I only know shillelaghs as weapons from Dead Island, the video game, so...
Like, what is it? What is it made of?
Is it like an instrument or something, or like a sports? Please, I have all this Irish in my blood, and is it a sports?
Yeah, what is it? Where's it come from? A shillelagh. I'll look at it. A shillelagh stick. It's a club or Irish walking stick crafted from the stout, knobby branches of trees, which are shaped into a heavy hitting end with varying lengths of handle.
Stout and knobby.
So, let's have a conversation about Warwick Davis. This is kind of his iconic role. Jill, what are your thoughts on Warwick Davis and the role of Leprechaun that now is in your life forever?
My thoughts on Warwick Davis is that he did a good job.
For our listeners, there's been about 5 minutes of build up there that I'm sure Rowan's gonna cut out.
I'm sure I'll cut it out, and that's what they're gonna
get. Oh my god. Wow, thanks Jill for the insight. That was great.
Good job. A very convincing Leprechaun. And I also had the same issue with the first movie. I want more of an authentic Irish accent on my Leprechaun. I need it to be more strong. That is my only criticism.
Okay.
And more limericks.
More limericks.
That's not really his problem though. It's a writing problem. But more limericks and work on that accent, But yeah, great performance, just killer. Good job.
I think he gave it his all in this one because he does talk about quite regularly, because obviously he's kind of synonymous with this now. This is kind of his main leading role that's lasted throughout the times, but he says that Leprechaun 3 is his favorite one that he did. He talks about with 1 and 2 that he actually was campaigning for it to be a little campier, more comedy like 3 actually does. But he just said at the time, those directors they wanted it to be more of a actual horror movie than kind of, this campy comedy we get. I thought it was kind of interesting, in an interview, he has, very specific rules for the Leprechaun that were kind of odd to me. Because if you guys remember, I always laugh when I see it, but the scene where the Leprechaun is, walking in the street, which, side note, is the only time they're actually in Las Vegas. They didn't shoot this in Las Vegas.
Where'd they shoot it?
They shot this at the Ambassador Hotel, which is an abandoned hotel in LA.
They didn't shoot any.
That's why all the rooms look like Motel 6s.
They shot stuff outside.
Yeah, the outside.
Okay, I was gonna say, I was like, how the fuck would you recreate that?
Yeah, because they actually only had one night to shoot in Vegas. They didn't get any permits. So it's just Warwick Davis walking down the street as the Leprechaun and them just shooting it.
But it's funny because in Las Vegas, that literally people wouldn't blink an eye. They'd be like, yeah.
Yeah, this is normal.
Yeah, I was thinking the setting for this was actually brilliant because now that I've finally been to Vegas, I was like, I wouldn't have even looked twice.
No.
But anyway, so they have the scene where he's outside of the strip club. And, I know in my notes, I was like, the Leprechaun just wants to see some titties, but he's on a mission, and he's like, no. But Warwick Davis talks about his rule was always, he didn't want the Leprechaun to swear, and he didn't want the Leprechaun to be, over sexual. Or
he says ass.
Yeah, I think it was, fuck and stuff like that. And he didn't. He
says dick.
Yeah, he was saying even the joke about him going to the strip club. He was he didn't even like that because he thought it was a little. He just was like, hey, I don't think the Leprechaun should be like that.
What, the Leprechaun should be wholesome?
Yeah, he's a wholesome Leprechaun.
But it's actually a mixture of wholesome things and dirty things and also, some horror in there. It's a beautiful combination. A+.
I think his rules allow it to maintain being whimsical, I think is the thing. If he's cursing and if he's being overly sexual and it winds up just looking more dirty and gross where, the makeup already kind of gets him there. It's a really good makeup job that already makes him look like a slasher monster. But it still allows it, the role to have some whimsical, magical nature to it that you can kind of buy into, right?
Well, really, he's not really. Does he really want to be a murderer? Because all it is,
No.
he's protecting his shillings.
Yeah, he's a sympathetic character. That's why I wrote the summary that way.
Shillings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I like that the podcast is now just sympathetic to the Leprechaun.
He's like Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Well, Frankenstein's monster.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
Love your monsters. Love your monsters.
We have to talk about the mobsters, who are probably my favorite part of the entire movie.
Best character.
What do you think about the enlightening discussion on boxers versus tighty whities that occupied my screen for 3 minutes?
It was literally one of my favorite parts of the movie too.
Of course it was. Why am I not surprised?
Well, I'm like, it's a very important question.
They really
love-
had me thinking.
They love throwing around the word sissy, which was probably pretty cutting edge in terms of like things you could slur yourself or others as in the early 90s. What was this, 93, 95? I can't remember.
95,
yeah.
Oh yes, because they had the computer, that's right.
And there was another characters in this also, but I kind of got the vibe that they were like mobsters, but they were also kind of a couple.
They were, apparently.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yes, because I was Googling it. It actually raised this film in my esteem, but a little while ago when we first sat down, I was looking up something else. I was actually trying to figure out who played them, and then in trying to figure out what the actors were, I found out that they were indeed supposed to be lovers. Because I was like, this is so
it's a hateful relationship.
It is, though.
I mean, I thought they were pretty nice to each other. Like, they also have the main mobster, I take it the boss. They have like a whole conversation about like workers' rights and taking breaks. I was like, this guy's really thoughtful. Like, he really cares for this guy.
Yeah, so I don't know what where it confirms, because I don't remember that being confirmed, but it says it on the wiki, the Leprechaun wiki page, that they own a motel and they are a couple. So I was very disappointed in the presence of too many men in this movie. So that was really dragging it down.
Jill should write a fan fiction adventure with this couple.
Oh my god.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, you and Sarah J. Maas can collaborate.
It reminded me, honestly, of the dynamic between Danny DeVito and his wife in Matilda. They're a married couple, but they're kind of fucking toxic and kind of hate each other, I guess. But but worse.
Yeah, I could see that. Now, I did want to make sure that somewhere in this episode we set some space aside for Mike. Because Mike, I'd like to just hear your unfiltered thoughts on one man named the Great Fazio.
My first note, Fazio is so queer-coded.
My first note was the Great Fazio is, in capital letters, fabulous.
Yep. Followed by he's a Red Shoe Diaries magician. Because his whole fucking act was literally the costumes, the smoke, the music especially was very late night Cinemax, softcore, erotic, you might get a boob or some butt.
Or the front of a
2 a.m.
vagina.
cheese. Or, yeah, exactly.
Holy
Maybe a little bit of bush. But, yeah, I was literally, this is Cinemax, early 90s, softcore erotica translated onto a quote-unquote stage in quote-unquote Vegas. Which is really just a box that they're standing on.
I thought him and Loretta actually had pretty good chemistry. I thought they
did,
worked really well together.
Yeah, I think because he was also very campy. Right, that was the thing. I feel the two of them were really great campy characters, and the actors were fantastic. I don't know who he is. I should have looked him up. I didn't, but
John DeMita is his name.
Dude, when he's dancing across the stage, it's so good. And then also God, the smoke ball, like smoke bomb escape from the hotel room. Yeah. Holy shit, I was losing it. It was so good. And then he gets like the gnarliest kill in the movie. It's like so gruesome how they do him, like sawing him in half on stage. It's it's crazy.
Yeah, and it sucks. I can't think of the guy's name, Gabe something, but the guy that did the special effects on this is actually one of the lead special effects guys for Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, which would make sense because Caroline Williams was in Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. Yeah. But like I thought this, especially compared to 1 and 2, especially Fazio's death, it was pretty gruesome. It looked awesome. Oh, yeah. Like I was just like, this is we continue to heart practical effects, people. Practical effects.
I truly wish I could change my name to Fazio.
Okay, y'all.
No way.
He has done. It's funny that you brought up manga earlier, or anime, or whatever it was. Yeah, anime. Because he is a serious anime dubbing career, like Bleach, Demon Slayer, Dragon Ball.
Shit, all right.
Naruto, Ninja Scroll, One Punch Man. Like, he's been in literally all of the, massive anime. That's wild. How have I never heard of this guy before? Oh, he was in Kiki's Delivery Service?
Yeah. Nice.
Wow, yeah. This guy's wild.
He's in stuff.
I'm gonna become obsessed with him.
Going back to the practical effects, did anybody else notice when Leprechaun was burning and flying at the end of the movie? You could just very much see the wire right in the middle.
Yeah.
It was so good.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
That was awesome. I think this was the first time I overly noticed it. Now, usually when I watch this, I watch it on VHS. So obviously it's a little more grainy.
Grungy.
Yeah, so I'm not watching. I'm surprised we've gotten this far into it and we haven't talked about what's his name, Gupta.
Dude, why is he in this movie for 50 minutes? He should have been killed in 5. He's in here way too long.
Yeah, it's pretty long. I did like the kind of degree of separation because I was like, who is this guy? I look him up. What are the first 2 credits I see? Leprechaun 3 and Vampire in Brooklyn. So,
no way.
No way.
What are the
Why do you always find this weird niche shit?
Yeah.
It's so funny.
Oh, man.
So.
What an illustrious career. That's great.
This guy just with the bangers going on. What I really liked about his scene was when our lead there, Scott, comes in and finds him dead and then moves his body and then Gupta opens his eyes and moves his eyes. You just clearly see him looking at the actor and he's almost got a smirk on his face. And then he just pretends he's dead again.
Oh, man. See, I never noticed that. I was too involved in the emotion of the moment,
Leprechaun 3 is about the emotion, so...
I did notice earlier in the movie, though, when there was a close-up of Tammy and Mitch near the magic stage when they were talking to one each other. The whole shot was just completely out of focus other than the background. So they focused the camera on the background. And I was just like, what is this? Is this me on the It's Slays podcast can't get my fucking camera to, focus? It was awful.
I literally wrote, so many shots are out of focus, in parentheses, Ro will be buying the 4K ?
Oh, I will.
Oh,
all I could think about was you watching that in 4K, and I was like, Jesus Christ.
This needs a 4K release ASAP. If anything's ever wanted it. I did want to bring up, I had said they shot this at the Ambassador Hotel, which almost every scene is shot in the Ambassador Hotel, which was kind of obvious. I don't know about you guys, but every shot of the casino, I'm I can tell there's 2 tables and maybe 30 people that they're just spreading around. It looks pretty bummy. But what I didn't know is I knew nothing about the Ambassador Hotel, which I thought was interesting. Bobby Kennedy was shot in the Ambassador Hotel.
Oh.
They used to have the Oscars in the Ambassador Hotel.
Oh.
So it's this.
Wow.
Wait, before or after he was shot?
I feel like probably before.
Before, yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I just thought it was like kind of interesting. I know the director, Brian Trenchard Smith, who, is like a horror sequel king.
He literally directed one of my favorite movies of all time.
Is it Night of the Demons 2?
Of course it is.
Of course it is. Of course it is.
Oh, and I also have to throw in, sorry to interrupt you, that anybody else who's a fan of that would notice that at the beginning, when they first go to the hotel and they're in the casino, you remember there's a scene where there's like a priest at the craps table, and the two girls that's the priest from Night of the Demons 2.
Yeah.
And the two girls are two of the actresses. Yeah. I was like screaming. I've rewound it like 4 times.
I'm going to derail the podcast again because this guy has a movie called Tyrannosaurus Azteca, which is about a band of 16th century conquistadors must fight for their lives when they realize they're going to be served as sacrifices to a godlike T-Rex, which that might be my next pick at this point. That's I got to check that out.
But yeah, well, and I was just saying it was interesting because the location, like I know, so Brian and then the producer, Jeff Geoffrey, is how he pronounces it.
He actually does.
Yeah,
Geoffrey.
which is weird. Geoffrey.
Like the Game of Thrones villain?
I feel like they were pocketing money because they basically talked about that they knew they could get this location for nothing because it was abandoned. And they were just like, yeah, we can shoot this in this abandoned hotel and just give us the money to shoot the film. And they did it. I mean, I thought the location worked fine, so, I don't know about that. I'm just looking down my notes. Do we want to have a discussion about Mitch and what we think of heat-seeking moisture missiles?
Mitch is every creepy fucking boss a woman has ever had.
Mm-hmm.
I can't speak on that. I don't have many bosses that are trying to pick me up, sadly, I guess. But yeah, I can imagine. He was super creepy. I didn't really... he was one of those guys, like, I felt like I recognized, and then I looked at his filmography. I couldn't really...
He has a face of just, like, the tertiary character in, like, a Martin Scorsese, like, gangster movie.
Yes.
Like, like, not speaking lines, but, like, on camera. Like, that's what his face looks like to me. So yeah, I thought he was very familiar as well.
Like he works in the restaurant that they go to every half hour. Yeah.
I will say I thought it was impressive because on the commentary they said that whole heat-seeking moisture missile was actually improv by him.
Of course it was. It's such a dumb line.
I was just like, this is super creepy. I wanted to get into Mitch because I said I did want to get into that scene. I thought that's where Warwick really shined, was on the TV with all the different ads.
That was fun.
Cool.
Yeah.
Where, like I love the pastor, like the Southern evangelical TV pastor.
The way you were about to say that with an Irish accent.
I also liked, like, Proto the Ring.
Yeah.
The Ring was definitely inspired by Leprechaun 3.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Fun fact, I didn't know that this was the highest grossing direct-to-video movie in 1995.
I saw that as well,
wow.
Rowan. I was, like, blown away. Couldn't believe it.
So this was supposed to be the final installment. It just made so much money. They were like, well... we gotta send him to space.
I was gonna say, I guess he's going to space.
They bought the rocket ship and sent him
when did
off.
they go to space in Hellraiser? Was it also the 4th one? No, it was the 5th.
Yeah, it took like Fast and Furious, like 9 movies to get there. It takes Leprechaun 3 movies and they're going to space. So what's truly the better franchise there?
Well, yeah, this is true.
Well, I have a really important question. Just asking, has screenwriting peaked? Like, from this movie? Was it all downhill after this? Like, the lines in this movie are absolutely crazy. I don't know if anybody else noticed it, but they end the movie on a Casablanca line. Like, literally the iconic line from Casablanca. Yeah. Like, this could be the beginning of a beautiful friendship. Like, they literally uses the Casablanca line in fucking Leprechaun 3. I was in hysterics at the end of the movie.
It ended very weirdly with that. Yeah, that was pretty weird. I remember now being like, that's it? All right.
There's some other great lines, like, if you want magic, bend over and I'll pull a rabbit out of your ass. It's like, what is this shit? The guy's talking about his hemorrhoids.
Penis au gratin?
Yeah. Oh God, it's just there's so much nonsense in this movie. Like half of my notes are just like weird ass like quotes that like out of context I don't even know where they've been used in the movie, but it's just like this movie is chocked full of weird shit that is like funny to listen. Like, you know, when she throws the baseball and then it's like an off camera 80-yard line of I pitched for the Vegas All-Stars, like just to explain how she threw the baseball so well. It's like it's just shit like that just had me like dying laughing.
It adds personality for me. That's what I liked about it. It's just so off kilter.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, like, one thing I really did like, and especially from going from like 1 and 2 to this one, was where there is the lore, but they didn't really like. The first one's like pretty slow to start with, where this one, like, you can pretty much just get right into it. We're in the third one. We just want to see a leprechaun be creepy and, you know, just say limericks. Or at least Jill just wants to hear them say limericks.
I love a good fucking limerick. All day long, I could do it.
Well, we're expecting, like, the next episode, every episode from now on, you'll only talk in limericks, so...
Okay.
There's a podcast I listen to that's very popular. I think it's called, like, The Filmcast. One of the guys always gives his review in the form of a limerick.
Oh,
so, Jill, that could be your thing from now on.
I've got a whole list of limericks I've written. Like, I'm not even joking. I'm a fucking teacher. This is like what I do.
Oh, I thought you meant you had a bunch of limericks written for this movie.
I don't for this movie, but do you want to hear my limericks?
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah. I mean, continue, and I'll let you know when I find them. Right? Why are we laughing?
What about the hospital scene when they print off, what is it, like his EKG or something? It just says "fuck you"
God.
on
Like
the printout, and then it's like little fairy stamps across it. Like, what is this?
That was amazing.
I was like, it looks like the thing that you peel off of a fruit by the foot.
Yeah. So good.
I love the leprechaun dressed in, like, the hospital garb, and he's got, like, the pink shower cap hat going on. I was like, the leprechaun's kind of cute here. Just
he rolls off on the
scrubs.
Yeah, he rolls off on the gurney, just flipping him off like in the background.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Oh man,
I didn't really have any other notes other than
we're waiting for Jill's limerick.
Well, she's looking it up, so I'm just killing the time.
I'm trying to pick a good one.
Let's talk about the music.
It's good.
I thought the music was pretty good. I never really noticed it till this time, but I was like, yeah, it's corny. It's like leprechaun music, but it's kind of a banger. I was like, it fits the mood. I don't know. I want it to make the playlist, but, I like...
Oh, you gotta put one track. Just one track. Just a taste of Leprechaun.
They gotta get the taste of it.
Oh, how did they not make that as, like, part 8? A taste of Leprechaun, and it's like... he finds a woman. Wait, does he in the other ones? I don't know. I've never seen any of them. Spoiler alert.
You guys want my limerick?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Be ready for this. Be prepared. There once lived a cow named Beef. He had absolutely no teeth. What in tarnation? Beef died of starvation. The farmer cried in grief.
Whoa.
I've never heard a long form limerick
I am
before.
obsessed with your use of the word tarnation.
It's a tragic tale.
That is real tragic. Xylia says she's never
Isn't that
heard
a nursery rhyme? Are nursery rhymes just limericks? Oh my god.
Basically.
Xylia's used to 2-line limericks spoken by Warwick Davis.
Basically.
So.
You can do better. You can do better.
She basically fucking came out with Hickory Dickory Dock.
Which should be the subtitle of when Leprechaun gets licked.
Oh my god.
Leprechaun 8. Hickory Lickory.
Hickory what? Oh my god.
So, do you guys have any other notes on this? Or, I mean, this isn't a long movie, so there's only so much to talk about with the Leprechaun 3.
I did enjoy your, talking about the music in terms of, the only music that even, like, penetrated to me was that, like, softcore Cinemax, like, I love that. I wanted to, like, put that on a loop, like the music when they're, like, up on the stage, like, doing their little dances and stuff. I was like,
Mike, you can't say penetrated.
I said penetrated. I said it.
Penetrated.
I just
and
said
softcore,
hickory dickory lick or
sentence.
whatever. So yeah,
Good stuff.
Let's
More things for Rowan to edit.
Oh no, he's keeping it in.
Yeah, that's making it.
He's keeping it in.
Is Rowan trying to censor you?
I'm just the censor.
Oh, I also love that Caroline Williams says, "You flaming fagula." She says it. Remember I said, I wrote down that he was queer-coded, and then she says that later on, and I'm like, okay. She got sassy once she got her little pixie cut on the go.
You're like, I see you.
She's just, like, slurring him.
All right, so we'll land the plane on this one and get into rating it. If you're new to the podcast, our rating system is nay, okay, yay, or slay. Mike, what would you rate the iconic classic Leprechaun 3?
Okay, when I first started watching it, I was like, this is gonna be a nay, like, please. And by the end of it, and, you know, like, kind of thinking about it since I watched it yesterday, it's definitely an okay for me. I really enjoyed the camp element. There were too many men in it for me, and some of the people didn't realize that it was camp, so I think it could have been, like, a little bit more, like, driven home. But honestly, I'm saying okay, and it could go up, because I think it was the best one out of the three of them that I watched so far. And I'm kind of looking forward to watching it again at some point. Weirdly, I liked the Vegas, the like $2 Vegas knockoff setting. It just seems so like empty and hollow, and I just thought that was kind of funny. Again, because like Ro was saying, there was like they had 3 tables, and they were like, okay, take all of the casino tables now and put them in this weird little auditorium, because that's where we're putting people. But yeah, I didn't love it yet, but I feel like if I watch it, like if I have a few drinks and watch it, I think it's gonna go up in my esteem. So I'm giving it okay. I'm giving it an okay with the option to climb the ladder. There's no glass ceiling for this. What about you, Jill?
His review is fluid.
It is fluid. It's verse.
You know, I respect your opinion, but I think that was weak as shit, because that was a goddamn slay.
Yes!
Oh,
yes!
Wow, okay.
Leprechaun 3 is like my favorite movie that I watched this year. I had the best time of my life watching it. It was so funny. It was so clever. I love the Leprechaun lore. It just brought me back to a simpler time in my childhood when these kind of weird little movies would pop up. And, you know, I missed Leprechaun growing up, but I'm here to watch it now, and it's fucking amazing. And
no, I love that. I love that, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like my life has changed, actually, after watching this movie. I've been talking about it all day. My friends are so annoyed with me. But yeah, slay. It slays. It's amazing. Go watch it. Not sponsored.
I like what you did there. She said it. She said it. She said the title.
She said the
title.
What about you, Colton?
Yeah, say what you will, say what you may, but Leprechaun 3 is definitely a yay. I really enjoyed it. I don't really have much else to say on it. This movie slaps. No notes. It's the best Leprechaun of the 3 I've seen.
Yes, it is.
So what about you, Rowan?
Oh, this is a fucking slay. This is the slay of all slays. You know, some people, you know, have Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Some people have The Exorcist. Some people have Halloween. I have Leprechaun 3. It is the GOAT horror movie. I'm glad this podcast can change lives like we changed Jill's. This should be the spiel for the Patreon. It's kind of like the Leprechaun speech of donate money. But yeah, no, it's a banger. It's fun. There's like no slow part in it. It just like from the get-go, it's awesome. I don't even mind the, 45 minutes we spend in the pawn shop. I still think that's all funny. As long as I'm seeing that funny DVD-ROM going off in or CD-ROM going off in the background. Super hilarious. Is it a little maybe, little racism going on in there? Little subtle, comments about like eating Indian food or something. Does the leprechaun have a foot fetish? Also maybe.
Yes.
He's just chomping on feet. A little creepy, but you know what? That little creep gets a sleigh from me. And that leaves you, Xylia. What do you rate Leprechaun 3?
Well, I feel like now it's going to be so anticlimactic because you had such a, grand review. But like I said, Leprechaun 1, banger. Leprechaun 2, can't remember it. Leprechaun 3... double banger. Super banger. I'm gonna give it a yay. I can't quite give it a slay because I'm not Rowan. And he gives everything a slay. But yeah, I would definitely give it a yay. So fun. Love Las Vegas. Love the Leprechaun. Great combination. I don't know what else to say.
So I'm the drag. We love it.
Well, we told you what we thought of it, so it was only right that we asked you what you thought of 1995's Leprechaun 3, and we got some answers. We got some answers kind of everywhere. People just loving the Leprechaun 3. So we'll start on Slasher. We had Sackhead write in and said, "This movie is terrible. Cheesy goodness. It holds real nostalgic value to me." So, I mean, yeah, obviously. And then on Twitter, we had Loch Ness VHS write and say, "This is the best film of the series, and I will fight about it."
Undoubtedly, though.
I mean, listen, even I said that. 100%, this is absolutely head and shoulders above the rest.
Oh, yeah.
But not Leprechaun head and shoulders, because that's not very much.
Also, shout out to Loch Ness for the... they're on the Amon Discord. I think they're the ones that made it, so shout out.
Yeah, so we had 3 more on Instagram. I Hope You Suffer podcast wrote in and said,
nice.
Banger. Only outdone by In Space and Returns. I don't think I've seen Leprechaun Returns. I think that was when they got rid of Warwick and they maybe...
We can't stand for that if that's the case.
Yeah,
Hard stance against.
I do know they tried to reboot this once or twice, and yeah, I'm not for that shit. But Holly P, our lovely patron member, wrote and said, "I love you crazy cats, but I don't think I'll ever watch a Leprechaun movie.
Oh, no.
I'll listen to this episode, though."
You might change 2 lives today.
Yeah, so Holly, just watch it. Just will change your life too. And then lastly, Colton's favorite Instagram account name, Murderers Row.
Oh, yes. Rowan's alt account.
Yeah, my alt account said possibly the best in the series.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, yeah, I feel like everyone's kind of on our vibe that this is a banger. But with that, I think we do have a voicemail.
So it has been several years since I watched actually the first 2 Leprechaun movies, and I remember really not liking them. I thought they were just silly and not scary at all. I haven't rewatched them, but I just watched the 3rd one, and I think since I've grown older after watching the first 2, I misread them, because I have to admit, I enjoyed the 3rd Leprechaun movie. It's not a good movie, definitely not a slay movie, but I would feel bad to give this movie a nay, because it did entertain me. It was weird, it was silly, but in a semi-good way, so you really can put the movie on in the background. I think it's a great party movie to watch with a few friends if you're in the mood. And Warwick Davis was really cool as the Leprechaun. So overall, it's nothing special. It's an okay movie, I think. But it does have some cool scenes, especially some of the kills with the chainsaw, for example, and the lady blowing up were weird to watch. Not the best effects, but again, just an entertaining movie for, 80 to 90 minutes. Yeah, so okay from me.
I love that he's
3
so
lives changed. 3 lives changed.
So begrudgingly admits that he likes the movie too.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah.
I can't give it a nay. I would feel bad. It's so good. Thanks for calling in, Nicholas. That's great.
I can't believe we're changing lives like this on the podcast. I've got a heat-seeking moisture missile. I filled it with Leprechaun 3, and I'm just spraying it all over people.
Hell yeah, get it.
Get
Oh,
it.
no.
Get it, girl.
And if you want to leave a voicemail like Nicholas, you can do so by calling into the podcast at 1-902-418-8620. Or you can message us directly on Instagram. You can send a MP3 to itslayspodcast@gmail.com. Basically, if you get a voicemail to us some way, we'll make sure that it makes the show. And if you're not following us already on our socials on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Slasher, Letterboxd, we're everywhere at itslayspodcast. And if you'd like to support the show, like our horror hounds Holly, Nicholas, Patrick, Mark, and the newest patron, Sacrotype, gain access to the Patreon exclusive show Stream Screams, hosted by Gill, and get episodes of this here main show 48 hours early. Be sure to head on over to patreon.com/itslayspodcast and choose whatever tier works best for you. Now, Rowan, go ahead, plug the playlist. Any Leprechaun tunes making it?
Of course, we'll add one
Good.
to the playlist. But if you're into spooky music, a score, or just licensed music, any music from horror movies we review, or iconic horror movies, or just horror movies in general, go to the It Slays Podcast horrific playlist on Spotify. If you have any problems finding it, there's a link on all the social media in the link tree. And yeah, follow it. We update it regularly. And get your spooky music on and jam out on St. Paddy's Day to some Leprechaun music that is good, I guess. Yeah, we agree that it was a pretty banger score. And I think all that is left for this episode is to announce our next episode, and it was Jill's pick. Jill.
All right, my name's Jill, and my next pick is Ginger Snaps, which is my favorite movie of all time. So it's gonna be a really special experience. So don't forget to check it out.
Yeah,
please.
I'm excited for this. I'll make sure on air I tell the story of buying this movie for Xylia and and the torture it was for her.
Context.
Please do.
Context.
Yeah. So get your eyeballs on Ginger Snaps, and we will be back in 2 weeks. I think for the Patreon people, there will be a new Patreon stream screams of You Can't Kill Stephen King. And I think it's going to be a little different because we're going to try to put them out on the first of the month. So you'll kind of get 2 episodes pretty quickly because I think we're going to have another one locked and loaded for April 1st. But yeah, I think that is everything. As always, thanks for all the support. Thank you to Xylia for joining us. She can't miss the Leprechaun. I'm sure we'll see her back at least in October for Halloween. Jesus, I don't even know what one we're on now, but we're on one of those Halloween. 5, I think now.
5? Yeah.
Jesus,
Yeah.
5, yeah. So, as always, I am Rowan.
Bye, it's Mike.
Happy St. Paddy's Day, everyone. It's Colton.
Get a shamrock shake. It's Jill.
Bye.
See you later.
We're going to expand our weekly video segment to take you into the back shelves of your local video store, back where it says horror videos, and where kids are devouring some awful films that we call the video nasties.
Are you freebasing? Inquiring minds want to know.
I have to break free from this culture of mechanical reproductions and the thick incrustations dying on the surface.
Fuck the prime time, bitch!
Not with the new flesh. The pain, I can assure you, will be exquisite. As for our deaths, come with me and be immortal.
We have such sights to show you.
Gotta return some videotapes.